Germany has been in a recession for 2 years, which is why its chancellor, Olaf Scholz, called a snap election for next Sunday. Elected chancellor in December of 2021, the left-of-center Scholz was one of Biden's staunchest allies in standing up to Putin. I shouldn't do this. This is so... I would stop watching. This is a long way to go for something really stupid. Just know that I hate myself more than you possibly can for doing this. Frederick Merz. I'm sorry. Frederick Merz, the leader of the center-right Christian Democrats, is the likely winner of next Sunday's election in Germany, but he will have to form a coalition government with 2, possibly 3 other parties. That coalition might be with the Green Party or with the Social Democrats. But Frederick Merz promises to adhere to his party's policy, going all the way back to Angela Merkel and before that, of never forming alliances with far-right extremist parties like the Alternative for Germany party, which is expected to come in second next Sunday. It's made up of Nazi sympathizers, some of whom, according to German intelligence, are extremists who have conspired to overthrow the government. J.D. Vance, our vice president, flew to Germany and addressed the annual Munich Security Conference. And I know it's impossible, but he actually outdid Pete Hegseth in arrogant white male stupidity. So here is Vance meeting with Frederick Merz. That's Vance meeting with... That's Vivian Vance with William Frawley, who played Fred Merz on I Love Lucy. And I doubt anyone's still alive to even know what I'm talking about. I'm sorry. I can't, I'm just, okay. I behaved. Up until now, I behaved. Let's just pretend that didn't happen, okay? J.D. Vance spoke and at that Munich Security Conference, and he snuck in a not-so-veiled endorsement of the far-right Alternative for Germany party, which is anti-Muslim, anti-immigrant, anti-woke, and not so secretly, maybe not pro-Nazi, but apologetic Nazi. Before speaking, J.D. Vance toured the Dachau concentration camp, insisting we must never repeat such unspeakable evil. And then, after leaving Dachau, he delivered a speech defending the Alternative for Germany party, this far-right party made up of Nazi apologists who are calling for the deportation of Muslims, even if those Muslims are citizens. Vance, after going to Dachau, he met with Alice Weidel, head of the Alternative for Germany party, which is polling second in next Sunday's parliamentary elections. Elon Musk, another white nationalist, spoke before 4,500 Alternative for Germany supporters on January 25th, and he's giving them money. He told them Germans must no longer feel guilt for their past, and the Alternative for Germany party is your country's only hope to preserve your culture. He interviewed Alice Weidel. She's the leader of this party. During that interview, Alice Weidel poo-pooed the country's overreaction to Adolf Hitler, saying, quote, he was nothing other than an anti-Semitic socialist. She reduced Adolf Hitler down to nothing more than an anti-Semitic socialist. That's all he was. Musk defends his support for Alternative for Germany, claiming because the leader, Alice Weidel, is a lesbian. This is Elon Musk, the brilliant Elon Musk. He says, because the leader of Alternative for Germany, Alice Weidel, is a lesbian, Elon Musk says, therefore, she can't be a Nazi because Hitler hated lesbians. Wow, is he smart? Wow. I'd like to see how he did on the LSATs. Wow. Well, Weidel, the head of Alternative for Germany, is in fact a lesbian who's in a civil union with a woman. They have children, despite, according to the Washington Post, her party defining family as father, mother, child, unquote. Father, mother, and child. You know, just like Elon Musk's family, all 16 of them. During a joint appearance, she and Musk falsely claimed Hitler was a communist, which is why he invaded Russia. He loved communism so much, he invaded Russia. And he put all the communists in concentration camps because he loved communists so much, he wanted to just collect them and, make sure he was protecting them. Weidel says Germany must stop wallowing in its Nazi past. She said we need to put an end to, quote, this cult of shame about the Nazi past. It's a cult of shame. This is something Musk also told the German people. Musk said, stop feeling guilty about Nazi Germany. Stop feeling shame. And having grown up in apartheid era, South Africa, that's also something Elon Musk tells himself. Stop feeling bad about apartheid. According to The Guardian, Elon Musk's grandfather was born in America, but in the early 1950s, heard about apartheid in South Africa and said, I'm moving there. And he moved to South Africa for the apartheid. Apartheid started in the late 1940s. Elon Musk's grandfather read about apartheid, and he said, sounds better than Jim Crow. I'm going there. Weidel's grandfather, Hans Weidel, was legal counsel to the SS and personally rewarded with a judgeship by Hitler. According to The Economist, Alternative for Germany's core voters are white men with zero college. Bjorn Hack, one of Alternative for Germany's leaders, was found guilty last year for using banned political slogans in Germany. The banned political slogan he used is, quote, everything for Germany. And this was his second time convicted of violating Germany's ban on pro-Nazi language. Did I mention members of this party were arrested plotting a coup to overthrow the German government? Bjorn Hack testified he had no idea that the term everything for Germany was printed on the knives of Nazi stormtroopers. But prosecutors said they found it impossible to believe a high school history teacher didn't know the phrase's significance. Prosecutors said the Alternative for Germany party was charged with a crime before over this very same phrase being used. Therefore, it's unlikely one of the party's leaders would be unaware of its meaning. See, this is what they do. They plead ignorance. It's like Donald Trump saying, I don't know who David Duke is. I have no idea who David Duke is. During his speech supporting the Alternative for Germany party, J.D. Vance, this is the guy who spread the lie that Haitians in Springfield, Ohio were eating cats and dogs. And then when he was called on it, admitted, he said, yes, I lied to make a larger point. He said this lie was in the service of a larger point. And that larger point was, I'm a racist. Nazis. There's now a civil lawsuit in Springfield, Ohio, because Nazis began terrorizing the Haitian immigrants after Elon Musk and Donald Trump unleashed these lies. So J.D. Vance called on Germany to end its post-World War II firewall. This is what it's called. It's called a firewall where political parties refuse to deal with any politician or party run by Nazi apologists. This is what J.D. Vance said in Germany. And by the way, nobody hates the Nazis more than the German people. I mean, imagine, right now, half this country hates what Donald Trump is doing to our country. Imagine how much the Germans hate Hitler and the Nazis for doing not just what they did to the world, but to Germany. The Germans aren't going to catch Nazism again. They've been inoculated. And that's why they have freedom of speech, but they say, no, the Confederate flag, they would look at the Confederate flag and say, oh, no. We know what that is. That's a hate crime. Waving that is a hate crime. We're civilized enough to know that that's not a First Amendment thing. It's not some slippery slope. The Confederate flag? No. That's what the Germans would say. And they teach their past, unlike here in the United States. So during his speech supporting the Alternative for Germany party, these are Hitler apologists our vice president is endorsing. Vance called on German politicians to end their post-World War II firewall, refusing to deal with parties run by Nazi sympathizers and or apologists. This is what this idiot, J.D. Vance, said, quote, and it sounds so anodyne, quote, the threat that I worry most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, not China. It's not any other external actor. What I worry about is the threat from within. Well, who said that besides Trump? Hitler. The threat from within? He goes to Germany and says he's worried about the threat from within. He goes on to say, quote, what no democracy, American, German, or European, will survive is telling millions of voters that their thoughts and concerns, their aspirations, their pleas for relief are invalid and unworthy of even being considered. He goes on to say, democracy rests on the sacred principle that the voice of the people matters. There's no room for firewalls, unquote. Yeah, the voice of the people matters. Unless they want to vote in Georgia or Florida, Texas, or any of the red states Republicans are in charge of. Then we have to make it impossible for people of color and the marginalized to vote. Vance accused Europe of overreacting to Putin's misinformation campaign where he's influencing their elections. Now, this is a fact. Putin wants to destabilize Europe. So he's been funding all the alt-right parties like Alternative for Germany, the party, Viktor Orban gets his funding from Putin, Giorgia Meloni gets in Italy, Marine Le Pen has admitted she got money from Putin in France. He poo-pooed every single intelligence report, American and European, telling us that Vladimir Putin is running a misinformation campaign in Europe and Latin America to get authoritarians who are sympathetic to him elected. Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil. He said Putin isn't trying to influence their elections. In other words, Vance interfered in a foreign election, Germany's, by insisting there's no such thing as foreign intervention in elections. Why is J.D. Vance defending, endorsing the Alternative for Germany party? How dare he? How dare he? Vance then laid into Romania for canceling elections after investigators saw too much evidence of Russian meddling. He said, mockingly, quote, if your democracy can be destroyed with a few $100,000 of digital advertising from a foreign country, then it wasn't very strong to begin with, unquote. So I guess it's not worth saving, right? What if it wasn't strong enough to begin with? You should let Russia meddle. Your democracy wasn't very strong to begin with. Read ancient Rome. Democracy by its very nature, J.D. Vance, you arrogant white Christian nationalist prick. Democracy by its very nature isn't strong. It needs protecting. We need to protect democracy from the anti-democratic bullies like J.D. Vance, who use veiled Nazi language and imagery and then hide behind false claims of, I don't know what those terms and symbols mean. I just feel the people should be heard. He's all for free and open discourse, except when books need to be banned and newspapers and television networks like 60 Minutes have to be sued. Associated Press is being kept off Air Force One. Associated Press is not allowed in any Oval Office press conferences now. Why? Because their style book refuses to recognize the term Gulf of America. But Republicans, MAGA world, we hate the cancel culture. We have a free speech orthodoxy, unbending. They only defend hate speech. That's the only speech they think is protected by the First Amendment.